Welcome to Finding Yourself podcast. It's your host, Brittany, aka Barbie Sosa. And this is episode 1 of Finding Yourself podcast. And today we're going to talk about finding yourself. And I'm just going to give my perspective on 3 things that I felt was very, very, very helpful to me in my beginning stages of finding myself, okay? This is real, raw, uncut, facts over feelings, and let's get into it. So, my first point of finding myself was understanding that people pleasing is so detrimental. It is a sickness. I lost myself trying to people please, and I didn't realize how bad it was for me that I was willing to do anything to live up to people's expectations, to make sure that everybody was happy and pleased with my decisions and what I was doing and how I was living my life. And in all actuality, I lost myself. I was in a relationship / marriage for 15 years on and off. And in the midst of that marriage and relationship, I became somebody I didn't even recognize when it came to understanding that I can't please everybody. Everybody's not going to be happy. Everybody's not going to be satisfied with the things that I do. And I have to be okay with my decisions. And I have to be willing to take whatever consequences came with my action. And I became cold in a sense because I was doing all these things to please people and people didn't even care. Literally, I was killing myself trying to please people, to make myself feel adequate enough. I wanted people to recognize and understand that, hey, it's so much more to me than my looks and who I'm affiliated with. It got dark. It got dark and it got dark fast. And I didn't realize that I had changed so much. I had went through so much, and my mental health became a really big issue. And that was my wake-up call, that I had lost myself and I needed to find myself. So what I did first was stop saying yes. I stopped overplaying my part with people. I stopped doing what was beneficial for other people. And I realized really soon and quick that if you're not beneficial to people, they don't want anything to do with you. People will capitalize off of your ignorance, the fact that you don't know your worth, you don't have any self-esteem. Somebody will always capitalize off of that. You will become the turn-up queen, so they never have to purchase anything because you're going to always make sure people have a good time, right? Because you're dying on the inside. And so you have this persona where you're going to party, you're going to do these things, and people don't even understand. Like, you're doing that to hide the fact that you don't have it all together. You don't know who you are. You're hurting. You're going through, and every day you put on this mask and you drown it in alcohol and turn up and you distract people because they're like, oh, she's having a good time, life is good, she's turning up, she's always excited, and in all actuality you're dying on the inside. And so you become this person that you don't even recognize through people pleasing. And once you start saying no, a lot of people will fall to your wayside. And that's kind of what happened with me. I started having standards and boundaries. I stopped overplaying my part, and I don't hang out with that many people now, like maybe 3. And I'm okay with that. So that's the first thing, is understanding people pleasing is detrimental. You have to be able to set boundaries. Healthy boundaries is so necessary. It does not always feel good, but it's very important. We need those boundaries. We need them. Only way you're going to be able to thrive. My second point was becoming more self-aware of why I do things and why do I feel like it's okay to do certain things. And I made a lot of excuses for my behavior. People allow me to do things and get away with certain things. Money is power. If you have money, people will let you do anything, right? And I had to learn that just because people allow you to do things doesn't mean you need to do it. And I had to become self-aware, and I went and got help. I went to therapy. I got help. Yeah. I had my first mental breakdown. I think it was 2018. I ended up in the hospital. I was on suicide watch. And it wasn't because of me and my life was so awful, but it was because I was carrying everybody else's burdens. And I didn't know how to like process it and deal with it in a healthy way. So I started drinking and drowning my problems like in alcohol. I was turning up every weekend, and I wasn't taking care of myself in the sense of like getting rest and really pouring into myself, really speaking life into myself. So I ended up having to get some therapy, and it was so life-changing, guys. Like, it was so life-changing for me. I was able to unpack my childhood trauma. I was able to understand, why did I treat my ex-husband the way I treated him? Why did I allow him to treat me the way he was treating me? Why did I feel like certain things was okay? I learned so much stuff. I was able to have the tools and resources to unpack being overwhelmed, to unpack boundaries, to unpack pouring into myself and loving myself. Like, the way I felt about other people, I had to start feeling like that about myself. So I had to learn that you can't play about you, girl. Girl, you can't play about you. Because once I don't play about me, then everybody else will understand that if she don't accept that for herself, she's definitely not going to accept that for me. And that was like a big thing for me, is understanding that you have to love you. You have to care for you before you try to pour into somebody else, before you try to become everything that somebody wants you to be. You have to be it for yourself. So that was something I learned, was setting boundaries, understanding my capacity, being more vocal about my feelings. Like, I would expect for you to understand that I feel a way or that I want certain things, but I would never tell you. And then I would get mad at you if you don't get it or if you don't do it. And that is the craziest thing, right? I expect for you to do certain things, but I don't want to tell you what I need. I just expect for you to know what I need. That is so selfish and it's so unrealistic. And I had to really check myself about a lot of things. So yeah, it was definitely a process of chastising myself and understanding, like, girl, you dead wrong. Like, I was so wrong in so many ways, and I made it right. And so that's gonna get me to the third point. So my third point is giving yourself grace. I think a lot of times people have a hard time forgiving themselves for their shortcomings and their decision making and things that they probably could have done better, the things that they accepted. And that is one thing that I struggle with. I'm not perfect, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I was dang near. I held myself to a very, very, very high standard, and when I did not get it right, my world would come crashing down. Like, I would be so hard on myself. I would criticize myself to the point where it would send me into like a depressive state, is how bad it would get for me. So one thing I learned, like seeing my therapist, was I have to give myself grace. Like, give yourself grace, girl. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna do certain things, and you have to be able to give yourself grace. Experience is the best teacher. You're gonna make mistakes. Learn the lesson. And my thing was, if I go through something once, I normally get the lesson. But for some reason, I had certain things that I just could not shake. Like, I was just making the same dumb mistakes. And it was just it would irritate me so bad and put me in this depressive state. And I would just not want to be bothered. I would shut down, and that's no good for anybody. because I'm human. I'm gonna fall short. And I had to understand that that was like a really, really, really big downfall for me is I was so hard on myself. I was so hard on myself. And now when I make a mistake or now if I fall short, I'm just like, girl, you okay, girl? You fell short, you'll be fine. It's okay. You're not gonna die. It's not the end of the world. I have to tell myself that because I would get so upset if I make a mistake. And that is not healthy. It's not good because I'm human. I'm gonna make mistakes. So yeah, so this journey of finding myself has been very interesting. I've learned a lot of stuff. My mentality has changed. My level of compassion for people, definitely, I would definitely say I'm super compassionate with people now. And I want to make sure I'm looking at things from every perspective. I am constantly growing, and I'm not who I was 15 years ago. I'm not who I was 2 years ago. And I think it's so interesting that what I used to like, I don't like anymore. My appetite changed. What I feel is fun is not fun anymore. And that's not because I feel like I'm trying to live up to a standard that society says I have to live up to. I think it's just so really like doing things that make me happy, being around the people that make me happy, and understanding like God is gonna put you in a position where you are gonna have to solely trust Him and understand that everything you go through is for a reason, whether it's to help somebody or to give you some tools and resources for your next storm. Everything happens for a reason. And I just want you guys to know that me starting this podcast, getting out here talking, is so big because I know that God is wanting to use me in ways that I can't even imagine, and I would not give Him a full yes. And it took me so long, and this is just one of those things, right, where you can run as far as you think you can run, and you're gonna just run right back into God. He will get that yes, and you will fulfill your purpose, and you will do what He's called you to do regardless. So it's like I was running from starting this podcast, and yeah, God's like, no, you're gonna speak, you're gonna have a platform, you're gonna help people, you're gonna encourage people, you're gonna keep it real with people, you're gonna let people know that hey, life happens, but you're gonna be fine. And that's how Finding Yourself podcast was birthed and was created. Is I finally gave God that yes, and that yes with no conditions, right? Fully trusting God, fully trusting the process, just willing to put myself out here and praying that I'm able to help somebody. Because there's so many people hurting. There's so many people that don't have anybody, don't know where to start. And I want to be the change. I want to create a space where people can be free and be themselves and feel safe and understand that when we unpack here on Finding Yourself podcast, we don't weaponize, we don't judge, we are open, and we are willing to look at the facts over the feelings. I'm not saying things probably won't offend me, but the reality is what's the fact, right? And here I am, first episode of Finding Yourself podcast, understanding that I had to find myself. And I'm constantly finding myself. I'm constantly taking on new roles. I'm constantly growing as a woman of God. And I am just so excited. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. When I felt like I wasn't adequate enough, God reminded me that, hey, you've been battle tested. You've been through so much, and so many people can learn from that. And I just really hope that this episode helps somebody. I feel like somebody needed to hear this. And I just want you guys to know, like, you have to understand that you got to stop people pleasing. you gotta get help. It's nothing wrong with getting help. If you feel like you need help, get help. Please get help. Mental health is so, so serious. You do not want to make a permanent decision based off of temporary circumstances. Check on your people, love your people, and you have to forgive yourself. Please, please, please understand that you have to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself mercy. That's the only way you're going to allow yourself to create a space where you can grow. And here I am, right? I don't think y'all understand. It's so, so, so much stuff we're going to unpack on Finding Yourself podcast. It's so many laughs, so many tears that's going to be dropped. I am just so grateful that God has allowed me this opportunity to do this, to speak. And I just look forward to what the future brings. I'm just so grateful for my support, my daughter, my boyfriend, my family, my friends, my ministry that prayed for my podcast, that prayed for me, that the Holy Spirit will have his way, and that we will, that I will be able to come on here, articulate myself, and give somebody the 3 main points that I felt like was the beginning of me evolving and finding myself. And you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to be able to chastise yourself. You cannot be making excuses. You have to be able to listen to hear, not to respond. There's going to come a time point where you're going to want to say what you have to say, but you have to understand that you have to listen. You have to be uncomfortable to be comfortable. And we're going to talk on so many different things. We're going to unpack so many different things. And I am just so excited. Like, y'all, God really got me up here speaking. This is crazy. I just don't, I'm just like, okay. He said, I chose you. I picked you, girl. So fulfill the mission, fulfill your purpose, help somebody. We keep it real, we keep it raw. First episode of Finding Yourself podcast is in the bag, guys. We did it. And I just want you guys to know that the blessings may be delayed, but they're never denied. It's your girl, Barbie Sosa. Have a blessed day. Finding Yourself podcast, episode 1. I'm out.